Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Beach FM, we've got a very busy man on the telephone lines. Our Mayor, Kapiti Mayor Guru. Kia ora, Guru.
Kia ora, how are you?
Well, I'm well, thanks. Days like this always feel good. Now, I was just thinking about the Easter Sunday trading. It looks though it's definitely please yourself. You can open if you want to or close if you don't want to.
That's right.
Yep.
It was a good debate and discussion, deliberation. 7-4 decision to open up for Easter Sunday trading.
Right. So I should imagine it's going to appease the shopkeepers very nicely. They wanted to open, didn't they?
Well, I think it should appease them tremendously because the number of submissions that were against it were 69% against.
Right.
And the support for Easter Sunday trading was only 31%.
Sure. So it's still got to go to the full council meeting, though, has it?
Yeah, but look...
it's all over and done with?
Well, the way this council runs is, we've had a good debate around it, and okay. I know all the councillors and their positions and stuff like that.
Okay.
I see little or no inclination to re-litigate the issue.
Okay, so that's all...
I think we are a fairly mature council in that sense.
Yes, yeah, I agree entirely. All
the
right.
only area, of course, is... I think Deputy Mayor General Holbrook raised the issue of, given the public, the level of public opposition, and the fact of the very strong representation by the union that some of the workers may be coerced into volunteering, if you like, to work on those days, as against their right not to. The council may need to be vigilant about that. But I think that's an issue that we have got no control over, but I might signal the fact that as Mayor, I'll be very keen to hear of any such coercion. Okay.
So it's not a statutory holiday, though, is it, Easter Sunday?
No, it's not. It's not a statutory holiday.
No.
But I mean, some of the what interests me was some of the themes that were coming out. I mean, one theme was people saying, nobody should be forcing their religious beliefs on others. But then, if you look up retail or shopping as a religion, you find a huge amount of work done by academics and sociologists and stuff like that who now see shopping culture as being the new religion.
Right, okay, yep.
Yeah.
I was dead against it. As I say, I always hear the old arguments that we got to cater for the tourists who come here, but that's a load of old rubbish. When you look at overseas, they don't worry about that sort of thing. They just close the shops when they either a Sunday or a Monday.
That's right. But, if that's the case, then the market will decide come the next Easter to see whether there's going to be huge take-up on this.
Yes. Fair enough too.
So that's fair enough.
And there was discrimination, wasn't there? Because garden shops could open and all that sort of thing, but not the...
Yeah. But then that's the anomalous situation is something foisted by central government on local authorities.
Yes.
And this is another case. I mean, this is an issue that should be decided by another issue anyway that should be decided by
central government.
The beehive.
Yep, I agree entirely.
The public should be kept there.
Yep. Now, you've got another controversial one coming up. You must be going to announce the naming of the roads. We had 7 parts, 7 names. What are we going to do there?
Well, that won't happen until, I think, next year. We are going to have another round of council one more round of council briefing on what the community board's submissions have been, what their decisions have been. Because one of the issues part of the process was, like in Waikanae and elsewhere, where we consult with the community, and then the community comes up with some really good ideas and stuff. Like up in Waikanae, I know that there's been a very long-standing family there with very deep roots and old roots into the community, which certainly has come up, and very few people have known about it. And therefore, that name has also popped out, and so that would have required our staff to go back and do some historical work around that.
So the names suggested names from the community boards have all been received, so it's really just the council now working on what they consider to be the right ones.
Yeah, balancing between what the community boards have said, what the EB have said, and so what the councillors have been briefed on.
Right.
So that's going to be a very, very interesting exercise.
Because you'll have the road handed back within about a year, won't you?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Gosh, it's coming around quickly, isn't it? And the rumble strips, are they ripping that out at the moment on the expressway?
Well, I understand that's what the decision was, but I've had sort of mixed responses. Even some people living up there say the rumble strips is not the problem, but then the community down there is very adamant. But from a council perspective, we just have to wait until the monitoring exercise which NZTA brought forward to resolve this issue, and the results are known. And therefore, if it falls within what the levels were established by the Board of Inquiry, if it was below that, then the only way we can change that is to appeal to the government's standards, because that standard applies right across the country.
Right.
If it is above, then, let's rumble on and do some of the big things that needs to be done to mitigate that noise.
Right.
And I know, the noise can drive people bonkers, mate.
Well, you can hear the noise of the traffic quite a way inland these days too, in the first thing in the morning, so those nearby it will no doubt be affected, but they're working on it, aren't they?
Yeah. But I mean, different types of noise affects people differently. I mean, when I moved up to Otaki, because I was closer to the railway lines, I in the middle of the night, I'll know the trains going past, and then the huge horns that they blow, and just the noise on the tracks. But after a while, it just faded into the background.
Right. Now, we struck headlines in the paper on the Don Post on Saturday morning. Hundreds of Kapiti Coast homeowners who had hazard warnings removed from their properties after a long fight with the council have since sold up. I think about 1,600 coastal properties have been sold up. Now, what's the background to this one?
No. I think the report says that, there are some statistics on it, and it shows that 1/3 of the 1,600 properties which originally had coastal hazard lines imposed on them, 1/3 of it have been sold. But then it's really interesting because, and that's over 5 years, I suppose. So the question is, that shouldn't be alarming, because if people have sold it, there must have been people who bought it, right?
Yeah.
So they are confident enough to buy into those places. The other question is, what is the normal rate of sale for those beach properties anyway? The story doesn't tell you what is the normal rate. Just because 1/3 of them have sold in this period, if you compare it with other places, or generally, what is the rate of sales around the same, over 5 years? What is it? There's no comparison. And the other question is, what was the sale value? I know that the properties in beach have always been sold on profit.
So what is happening with our limbs then? Is this the hazard line being removed? Is it fearing that it might go back on again?
Well, look, that's a question that you need to put to the government, really, because the increasing information that's coming up and stuff like that. So the standard local government responsibility, local government act responsibility is that if the council knows that there is a particular hazard, if you know it, then you are legitimately legal bound to put the information on property information, which is what your LIM report says, right? Because you have to inform the buyers, you have to inform the current property owners that this is information that's relevant to you making decisions. So we have got the only question. The reason why it was taken out in the court case was it was the question over the signs of it, whether the information underneath that was fit for purpose.
Right. But are councils, like local councils such as KCDC, sort of scared about issuing building permits and enforcing no building law?
Now we should, because again, that's the question. If you issue permits and stuff, knowing that this is hazard lines and the floodplain due to open for coastal erosion, then further down the track, something happened, they'll sue you. And now I was at the recent local government provincial councils meeting, I think about 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and the chief executive there of local government New Zealand was saying that this is becoming an increasing problem for councils given the climate change factors and stuff, that council may be left to be the last man standing for any legal action, because people will be looking around for who's going to pay up money for the predicament that I'm in? And so they look to the councils to sue them. It's happening right across the country.
Yeah, that's right. I know one real estate agent, she says that people selling their beachfront homes, it's really because they want to cash in. There's still buyers out there who want to buy these houses regardless of whether there's a line on the map or not. They understand the issues.
Well, they're exactly right, because those are people who say, the properties particularly have been sold in the last 12 months because they're fearing that the hazard signs will come back in the limb report and stuff like that. I mean, it's alarmist, really. Because the counterbalance to that is in Kapiti anyway, because of the expressway and stuff, the property values are going up right across, including beachfront properties, although the beachfront property rate of increase in property values has not been as fast as in previous years, because I think people are more concerned or more informed about hazard risks. But the fact is, it is rising, and people are selling and making money out of it.
Yeah, sure. Well, I suppose we've got to leave it up to the new Climate Change Minister, James Shaw, isn't it, to settle this issue?
Yeah.
He'd be the man who's going to sort this out, is he?
Right. So the Ministry of Environment is saying that their analysis shows that $90 billion worth of property right across the country would be affected. And the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, Dr. Jane Wright, I mean, she says something like 9,000 properties will be directly affected, and 4,000 properties would be affected. So this is big stuff.
It is big stuff. All right, Guru, you might have some more information for us in due course.
Cool.
Thanks very much for your time today. Have a talk to you next Monday if we can, please.
106.3 Beach FM.